It stands to reason most listeners who encounter Cry 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 had some real moments with 2005's I'll Believe in Anything, not just a song that defined Wolf Parade, but an entire era when scrappy bands with bristling guitars, raw-throated vocalists, janky synths, and dog-eared thesauruses all believed in something profound and abstract. They sounded like they were punching far above indie rock's weight, because they really could be thrust from obscurity to relative stardom. It doesn't quite feel that way anymore, and perhaps it's fitting that 2005 indie or pre-blog rock, whatever you want to call it, is having its best year since, well, 2005. Everyone from The National to Clap Your Hands Say Yeah sound rejuvenated. Then again, just as many may look back on that time as one where indie rock started to lose its countercultural power and became a quirky, cerebral lifestyle accessory, inextricable from McSweeney's or Wes Anderson movies. But both sides will likely agree on Cry Cry Cry. That's indie rock right there. It makes for a sensible follow-up to last year's EP4, a 4-song teaser that functioned better as an accessory to their reunion shows than a substantial addition to the Wolf Parade catalog. It proved that Wolf Parade still had access to the raw materials of their beloved 2005 debut. Apologies to the Queen Mary. The earnestness of implacable heartland rock, abrasive synths, a smattering of prog pageantry, all cautiously portioned out. You could dutifully tap your foot to Mr. Startup or C'est la vie way. EP4 just wanted to make sure you were still interested. Wolf Parade hardly lacked for inspiration this time around. Lead single Valley Boy finally makes good on EP4's promise of a glam rock retooling, boasting the album's most ostentatious hook. Before tipping numerous hats to Leonard Cohen, you finally became that bird on that wire. And like all bands in 2017, if Bochner or Krug were to tell you that any of the more sinister or dour lyrics were political, you'd have to believe them. Lazarus Online introduces Cry 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 with its most startling line, "I received your message, you were a fan of mine, your name's Rebecca and you've decided not to die." It's strikingly similar to a much maligned lyric from Arcade Fire's Creature Comfort, but unlike their peers in Canada's mid-2000s ruling class, Wolf Parade aren't operating from an elevated platform. They may not be in love with the modern world, but they've got to live in it like the rest of us, experiencing reality like a sleepless night continually bordering on nightmare. "I'm up all night with the century ghosts," Bochner barks on the somnambulant sprint you're dreaming. Which is to say, this feels like a Wolf Parade album. And once the hiccuping synths kick in on your dreaming or artificial life, it sure sounds like a Wolf Parade album too. But rather than recapture their early spark, Krug and Bochner's vocals toppling over each other, some production grit, I sense that there was conflict or something at stake. Wolf Parade have cleaned up further with production from John Goodmanson. For the most part, Wolf Parade's synths have matured into pianos, precision drumming, and while Bochner and Krug have instantly recognizable voices, it's getting tougher to tell them apart. The result is a more coherent and streamlined record than the previous two, but it likewise echoes apologies to the Queen Mary enough to present its shortcomings in stark relief. Wolf Parade are now practical and proficient, more similar to latter-day Spoon cuts than Bochner's actual work with Britt Daniel and Divine Fits. Oddly enough, Wolf Parade's focus is a liability on Cry Cry Cry's requisite progepics. Baby Blue and Weaponized stretch out past 6 minutes, but do so by cycling in place, lacking the peculiarities that validated the spacious structures of Kissing the Beehive or Dinner Bells. And in the record's one truly confounding move, they're stuck back to back as an almost 13-minute Valley. Wolf Parade spend the rest of side B admirably trying to crawl and shimmy their way out of. But once they do, with the admirably vigorous King of Piss and Paper, Cry 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 can be heard as an equal to at Mount Zoomer or Expo 86, a solid record, throwback indie rock by default, powered less by defined belief and muted reliability. Bochner and Krug's hearts were on fire on their debut, and ever since, that passion has burned just as hot in their other endeavors. And yet, when the two realign on subsequent Wolf Parade records, the results have been workmanlike in all aspects, admirable, handsomely crafted, and ultimately defined by how much they sounded like work.